Hello, chismosas y chismosos, and welcome back to Bay Area Housewife of True Crime, where I like to tell the stories of the real cucuys and lloronas of the world. And if you're wondering what that means, it's just a Spanish term for monster. I'm Audrey, a paralegal turned stay-at-home mom who loves true crime. The cases I cover are wild. Topics may be triggering. Viewer and listener discretion is very strongly advised. The people mentioned are innocent until proven guilty in court. With all that being said, grab your hot Cheetos and let's get started on today's case. On Wednesday, October 19th of 2005, 23-year-old Lashaun Ternice Harris woke up at the Salvation Army shelter where she and her 3 young sons were living in Oakland, California. Lashaun Harris was 6 years old. Terrante Greeley Jr. was 2.5 years old, and Joshua Greeley was just 16 months old. Miss Lashaun got them dressed, fed them breakfast, put them in their blue stroller. The kids were happy to be going on a fun outing with the person that they loved the most in this whole world, their mama. I saw somewhere on the internet that said, when you as a mom feel like you are nothing, remember that to your children, you are their everything. I've talked about BART on here before, and if you don't know what BART is the Bay Area Rapid Transit, aka our version of the subway. I used to take it daily when I worked in the city during my tenure as a civil litigation paralegal. I've also taken it on fun trips with family, and those were my favorite growing up because I knew that my abusers weren't going to abuse me in front of people in public. Which is daunting when you find out what this real-life llorona did to her children. And also, a llorona is a Spanish word for monster, a Mexican tale about this llorona, which translates to the crier, because when you're Mexican, your nickname could include, but is not limited to, your characteristics, your size, your features, what have you. The Mexican tale of La Llorona is about a lady who drowned her kids in a river and cried for them afterwards. Mis hijos, my children. Miss Lashaun did not have a car, and she took public transportation to get around. Like at least once in your life, if you have not taken public transportation, I feel like you should, but that's neither here nor there. Miss Lashaun hauled her 3 kids in their stroller and took BART from Oakland to San Francisco, traveled on foot with her kids on the stroller, and they got off at the Embarcadero exit, which is the first stop off BART when you get to the city through the underwater tunnel. 23-year-old Lashaun Harris had also been diagnosed with schizophrenia and substance abuse disorder. In fact, Miss Lashaun had been hospitalized for her mental health struggles 6 times in less than a year leading up to the filicide. This real-life llorona took her 3 young sons to Pier 7 on the Embarcadero in San Francisco, stripped them naked one by one from oldest to youngest, and threw them off the pier into the freezing cold water. 6-year-old Lashaun Harris kicked, screamed, and hit his mom in the head. 2.5-year-old Terrante Greeley Jr. tried to run away. 16-month-old Joshua Greeley laughed because he thought it was a game. At 5:30 p.m., a witness called 911 to report that they had just seen a woman throw her children into the water from the fishing pier. A man who witnessed this catastrophe was so spooked that he ran into the waterfront restaurant and cafe and asked the hostess to watch his 2 young boys, as he didn't want this real-life llorona out there to see his boys. The distance from the pier to the water was approximately 10 feet. The fire department, fire marine units on jet skis, divers, the Coast Guard, and the police arrived at the scene within minutes. Members of the rescue team describe the mom who had just unalived her 3 young children having a blank expression on her face as she waited for the police to arrive. The then mayor of San Francisco, Gavin Newsom, who would later become governor of California, arrived at the scene and told reporters that he was sick to his stomach before he left. After 5 hours of emergency rescue efforts at 10:15 p.m., the drowned body of 2.5-year-old Terrante Greeley Jr. was pulled out of the water near Fort Mason and Crissy Field, about 4 miles away from Pier 7, where he and his siblings were thrown by the woman who was supposed to keep them safe. They were still looking for the 2 other babies. The Coast Guard was conducting searches by the waters, by the Golden Gate Bridge, 100 Point, and even as far as the Berkeley Marina. Unfortunately, the bodies of 6-year-old Lashaun Harris and 16-month-old Joshua Greeley have never been found.